Hello everybody. In this video, it's going to be pretty similar to the video I did a little bit over a week ago, but I'm also going to be talking about some of the stocks that I have added within the last week, or added shares to, should I say. So as you can see here, I am still down overall in my portfolio since I started. I'm actually coming up on a year now. It's probably been about 11 months. So I am overall down about 2%, but I do expect the stock market to rally in the coming weeks as futures look more and more positive as businesses start to reopen. Here are some of my larger positions, and none of these have changed in the last week, but my largest position overall is Tesla. I have 2 shares at about $650, and I'm not really happy with this average cost. I originally invested in Tesla when it was much lower and sold, and I really wish I never ever sold because now I have a much higher average cost than I would like to have in my portfolio. Then there's MasterCard and Visa, and they basically have a duopoly in chip processing, and there's really no other players in the game, in the US that is. And as long as the consumer spending outlook is looking good, there's no reason these companies would ever face bankruptcy, especially in the next couple of decades. I can't really see that happening. Then there's Baba, which is a huge Chinese e-commerce company, and I'm really looking forward to the 8-to-1 stock split because I will have 16 shares, and I think those 16 shares will increase rapidly right after the stock split. And then there's Uber down to the bottom there. I think as they approach profitability, their stock price is going to continue to increase, and I believe my average cost is maybe $26, and I'm pretty happy with this because I think the stock within the next year or year and a half can increase well above $50. Salesforce is a company I invested in pretty early on in my Robinhood portfolio, and I probably wouldn't add any more shares there, but I am holding, and I believe I've made maybe $20 on that share. And then a couple of stocks that I really would love to have more shares is Take-Two Interactive and Microsoft. Take-Two Interactive, in my opinion, is the best video game stock to invest in out there. They make games like Red Dead and GTA, and they release very rarely. Games for those two franchises only come out every 5, 6, 7 years, but the quality of those games is extremely high, and I think it's just a really good overall quality company. And I also am a huge believer in Microsoft. I think they're one of the best tech investments out there, and I actually would really like to have more than 3 shares. I'll probably be adding to that sometime soon. In Disney, I have an average cost of below $100, at maybe around $95, and I was really hoping it would go down into the 80s so I could add some more shares with all of their parks being closed, but it's still staying relatively strong above $100. PayPal at the top there is another one that I invested in early on, along with Salesforce. I think Venmo, especially which PayPal owns, is continuing to grow, and millennials are going to continue to use it a lot as they get older, as well as younger people being added into that college generation are going to be able to use that as well. Activision, another really good video game company stock. I really like what they're doing with mobile gaming, so I think there's a lot of growth opportunity there. Tencent is another Chinese e-commerce company, and they're actually involved in a ton of different industries in all of Asia, actually. And Airbus is priced less than half than it was around 6 months ago, or even towards the beginning of this year, and they aren't taking nearly as much of the flack as Boeing. So I am investing in Airbus, but I have not added any shares in the last month or so. Carnival Cruise Line, I actually added a few more shares of on Thursday. Last Thursday, it went down to 11.30, and I got in right at about the low. I think it went down to 11.25, and I got in at 11.30, so I was really happy with that. I don't think they're at a huge risk for going bankruptcy, although a ton of people would disagree with that. They're the biggest cruise line out there right now, and I just really can't see them going bankrupt. I know they're in a lot of debt and having to give a ton of refunds, and their outlook isn't looking great, but still not worried about them going bankrupt. Then there's Moat, which is an ETF that invests in companies that have an economic moat, which is very in simple terms, a company that can't be really easily competed against because of their brand, or maybe a pharmaceutical company that has a drug that no other company does. Then there's New Residential Investment and New York Mortgage Trust. I'm actually not too happy with these stocks. I'm probably going to end up selling these once their stock price goes back up to just a little bit closer to where it was at the beginning of the year. Then there is the pharmaceutical company Vertex, and they're actually not involved in research with everything that's going on right now. They actually have an economic moat because of a drug that they have for cystic fibrosis, and they're really the only player with that right now, and their stock's been doing really, really well, and it's actually at an all-time high right now, even with the overall market still being down. Then there's Virgin Galactic. I jumped on that bandwagon along with a ton of other Tesla investors. Even though I don't think they're very close to profitability, I think there's tons and tons of growth potential there, and I wanted to be one of the first ones, one of the first investors. Now we're getting down to the last couple stocks and ones that I've added shares to, ones that I'm excited to talk about. There's Boeing, which I added a share to, and if it gets down below $100 again, I'll definitely be adding more shares to Boeing. They really have been talking about bankruptcy a ton, but they're going to have to get bailed out. Most of the U.S. airlines buy Boeing planes, so there's no way that the U.S. will allow Airbus to become a monopoly. And last but not least is Jets. I believe in the last video I made, I had 10 shares and now I'm up to 27. And last but not least is Jets. And I've added a few $100s to this because it feels to me like it's almost a guaranteed return. The airline industry is basically at an all-time low this week. And this is an ETF, so it's much safer than investing in any of the airline stocks individually. But I did want to get involved in investing in some of those stocks at their all-time lows, so that's why I added some more to Jets. And here is my portfolio breakdown. The top three are tech, consumer goods, and manufacturing and materials. And I'm actually really happy with tech being number one. I think tech is really going to see the most growth as it has in the last 10 years, and I think it will in the next 10 years. And there's also a few not listed on here, such as business, and then the ETFs aren't listed on here, but this is the vast majority of my portfolio. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions, and I have tons of stock ideas on my channel if you want to come and check out some stocks that you're maybe curious about and subscribe for more content. Thank you so much for watching.